Now, it's the state government's responsibility to deliver public transport, and it's for that reason why I've got Mr Kim Wells coming up next. He's our local member for Rowville. I think everybody knows Kim. He's been our local member for a long time. And he's going to tell us a little bit more about what he himself and his political party are looking to do with the Rowville Rail project.
Thanks, Mick, and to you and your team, and thank you for coming out tonight. It's a fantastic crowd. I have to start off by acknowledging, I think I saw Samantha and Nina down the back. Liberal candidate Marie Devonport and Councillor Rob Davies, who all have a very strong interest in public transport. William mentioned a couple of options. I have to tell you that I do not support the light rail or the tram option. That is not part of the domain that I support. I am a very strong supporter of the heavy rail, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure that we get heavy rail to Rowville. In 2006, we went to the election promising a feasibility study. And that feasibility study was a promise, a $2 million promise, to give it to a group of independent, very intelligent people to be able to give us good advice of whether it's actually possible to be able to connect Huntingdale to Rowville. We didn't win in 2006, but we did win in 2010. So we made the same promise of a $2 million commitment, and William was the lead project leader, and we wanted him to be able to tell us what was and what wasn't possible. Now, he did come back with his team to say, yes, Rowville Rail is feasible. And he made a couple of points that he suggested a preferred alignment along Wellington Road to terminate at Stud Park. Improvements to the Dandenong line, but we also had to get capacity in the Melbourne Metro system to be able to make sure that the trains from Rowville ran along into Huntingdale and then in without having them being delayed at Huntingdale. Based on that information that William and his team brought back, we then put in more money to find out, okay, though, if there is a feasibility, and the feasibility is yes, then where will the actual train go? So William and his team went away and came back and made a number of recommendations, which you saw where stations would be. Obviously, Monash University would be one of them. And also, in the meantime, to improve a lot of the bus coordination around Stud Park, making sure that they were able to connect with other public transport. So that was one of the recommendations William made, which we accepted. The third recommendation was an important one, and that was that we needed to make sure that the railway line, the land the railway line was going to run along, had to be put aside and had to have an overlay on it to make sure it was protected, so it couldn't be used for road or any other matters. So I'm very proud to announce that tonight, that if we're elected in 2018 in November, that we will put an overlay on all of the public land that is required from Huntingdale through to Rowville. And that is a rock solid commitment which I'm announcing tonight. You will note that in the video that it's one of the questions that Mick was asking me and pushing for a commitment, that we needed to make sure that that took place. 90% of the land that is required from Huntingdale to Rowville is on public land, but it has no overlay on it at the moment. So if we're elected, we will make sure in the first 100 days that we will make sure that it has an overlay, that it can only be used for public transport. And then we'll obviously work to get the other 10% into the mix to make sure that nothing can affect the ability to be able to put a train line corridor in. So with that commitment, I have the press release here, which I'll leave on the table for you to come along and have a look at it. I'm looking forward to the questions at the end of it. The one issue I do have is, and it's one that can be swayed, and I'm sure that we can discuss, is I'm just not sure whether terminating the Rowville line at Stud Park is the best of the best ideas. I know, William, in your report said it was at Stud Park. My preference, and as I said, I can be swayed either way. I'm not sure what Alan's preference is, but I'd much rather it be opposite the Stanford Hotel with tons and tons of bucket loads of parking. But as I said, if people in the room have a different idea, Mick, if you and your team have a different idea, I just don't want the project being stalled because of the cost up to Stud Park. And if they came back and said it's too costly, then I'd rather it terminate somewhere to make the project feasible. But as I say, I can be swayed either way. It's not rock solid. It's a personal view. There is a ton of land that can be used opposite the Stanford Hotel that can be used for parking. Again, thanks for the opportunity, Mick and your team, for us to be here. And can I just say, Alan is the next speaker, and I'm so very, very proud of the work that Alan Tudge has done in committing the money to our project. Thanks very much.